Good day, everyone. I am John Renzo M. Manguiat from the group number 4, and together with my members, Huntila, Quintana, Beauchamp, Arce, Izada, Gonzalez, and Zurilia, and we are about to report the topic economic decision making. To start our report, here's a little overview lang muna about sa mga things, about sa mga terms, and about sa mga words na pwedeng madaanan, pwedeng matalakay throughout the report. Okay, so the first one is economics. Economics is a discipline of social science that helps people on how to make alternative choices to the limited resources in the society. Next is the concept of opportunity cost, help us to understand the importance of the value of choice in making a decision. While decision making is a part of life of everyone, you cannot go for a day without making economic decisions, so it is better for a citizen to understand this economic thought that help us be more careful in making a decisions in life. So additionally, about economics have two main branches. The first one is the microeconomics and the last one is the macroeconomics. The microeconomics focuses on individual and business decision, while yung macroeconomics is tumitingin siya dun sa broader economic factors such as yung inflation, yung unemployment, pati na rin yung national growth. Okay? So next.
Good day, everyone. I'm Chris Ann Arce, and today we're gonna talk about the scarcity, trade-offs, and opportunity costs. So let's start with the goods. Ano nga ba yung goods? Goods are physical objects such as shoes and computers. Alam naman na po natin to lahat, no? Kasi natakal naman na po natin to lahat. Goods are physical, ibig sabihin tangible siya, nahahawakan. Gaya ng sa example na shoes and computers, nagagamit mo yung goods once na nahawakan mo na. Next, services. Services are work done for people such as shoe repair and computer maintenance. Unlike sa goods, na physically nahahawakan mo yung goods, sa services, hindi. Intangible siya. Gaya nga po ng sinabi, ayun po yung mga services na binibigay sa atin ng mga tao kapalit ng bayad na ibibigay natin para sa services na ginawa nila. Parang yung mga massage, manicure and pedicure, wala kang nakukuhang goods dahil services nila yung binabayaran mo. Next, sabi nga ni Carnegie noong 2017, people are forced to make a choice if they face scarce resources. Making a choice means selecting one thing over another because a man needs to make decisions on how to maximize the use of the scarce or limited resources to his or her unlimited wants and needs. Yun lang po. Thank you!
Good day, everyone. I am John Renzo M. Manguiat, and on behalf of Jericho Huntila, I'll be discussing his part. Okay, so his part is all about scarcity. So now let's define the word scarcity. Una, scarcity refers to the condition where people cannot have everything that they want because there are only limited resources to meet the needs and wants of people. So basically, yung scarcity ay nag-a-arise siya kasi yung mga resources gaya ng time, money, pati na rin ng mga materials are finite. Pero yung mga human desires, pati yung mga needs nila ay limitless. Kaya ang mga individuals, pati na rin ang mga businesses, and pati na rin yung mga government entities ay need nang gumawa ng mga decisions patungkol kung paano nila i-allocate ang mga resources ng maayos. Since di naman lahat ay kaya mag-produce or mag-consume, yung mga choices need to be made often, leading to trade-offs. Pangalawang bullet, resources are the most basic elements that people use to produce goods and services that they want. So, resources. Kasama dito yung mga land, mga labor, capital, pati na rin ang entrepreneurship. And napaka-essential nito for producing anything na para makapag-satisfy ng human needs and wants. And ito ay necessary also for generating goods like yung mga food or cars and services like healthcare or education. So the availability and quality of these resources is madalas na nade-determine yung level of productivity and yung type ng goods and services na pwedeng ma-offer. So, pangatlong bullet na. A resource is scarce when the available quantity of that resource is less than its desired uses because of limited resources. So, when demand for a resource exceeds its supply, yung resource na yon becomes scarce. So, halimbawa, if there is a high demand sa isang clean water, sa mga malilinis na water, so, kumbaga, kunwari sa Africa tayo. So, high yung demand ng clean water doon, di ba? Pero, yung limited doon, yung supply doon is limited lang. So, yung water na yon becomes a scarce resource. Kaya yung scarcity na mismo yung pwersa sa society na makapag-decide if how nila i-allocate yung mga resources efficiently, maaaring sa pamamagitan ng pricing mechanisms, government regulations, or other methods pa. So, thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christine Lazada, and I will be reporting the types of scarcity. So, I recall lang from earlier part, scarcity simply means that there are not enough resources to fulfill all our wants. In Tagalog, kakulangan or kakapusan. Marami pong cause or reason kung bakit nagkakaroon ng scarcity. Isa na po dito ang resources kung saan ang oras, pera, raw materials, gayon din ang production at manpower ay limitado lamang. Ngayon, punta naman po tayo sa types of scarcity. Una po dito ay ang relative scarcity. So, relative scarcity happens when something is available but there's not enough of it compared to how much people want. Masasabing relative scarcity kung ang pinagkukunang yaman ay hindi makasabay sa walang hanggang pangangailangan at kagustuhan ng tao. Available naman siya kaso due to higher excessive demand ay nagkukulang temporarily. May mga ilang karakteristik din tayong pwede tingnan upang matukoy kung ito ba ay pasok sa relative scarcity. Una is when a resource or good is available but not in enough quantity to meet the demand. Pangalawa, the resource exists, but the supply is limited in relation to how much people want. And pangatlo, it can often be solved by increasing production or improving distribution. Example po dito is, coconuts may grow easily in the Philippines, but if demand increases due to more coconut-based products or exports, the supply might not be enough. So despite coconuts being abundant, they can still become scarce. And pangalawa pong type is ang absolute scarcity. Absolute scarcity occurs when there is no way to increase the supply, no matter the demand. Dito, absolute ang scarcity kapag nahihirapan ang kalikasan at ang tao na paramihin at pag-ibayuhin ang kapakinabangan ng pinagkukunang yaman. Ito ay dahil non-renewable ang pinagkukunang yaman. So katulad kanina sa relative scarcity, meron din tayong mga karakteristik upang matukoy kung ito ba ay pasok sa absolute scarcity. Una is when a resource is completely limited and cannot be increased or produced, no matter what the demand. And pangalawa, the supply is fixed and there is no way to get more of it from any source. And pangatlo, it's often impossible to solve because the resource itself is inherently limited. So basically, masasabing ito ay isang absolute scarcity kung ito ay isang uri ng kakulangan na kahit ano pang gawin mo ay talagang kulang dahil ang pinagkukunan nito ay sadyang limitado or may fixed lamang na supply. Example dito ay ang the Philippines doesn't produce its own oil. So there is a natural limit on how much oil the country has access to. This makes oil absolutely scarce because the country depends entirely on external sources. So, summary lang ng pinagkaiba ng relative scarcity at absolute scarcity is relative scarcity kung available naman siya kaso nagkukulang pa rin due to high or excessive demand. And absolute scarcity naman kung ang kakulangan ay sanhi ng sadyang limited resources dahil sa ito ay may fixed lamang na supply. So, yun lang. Thank you po.
Hello, my name is Alexa Joy A. Gonzalez and today ang pag-uusapan natin ang isang importanteng concept sa economic decision-making or trade-offs. Trade-offs, in the word of scarcity, people face trade-offs situation in which they have to choose between two things that cannot be done at the same time. You are selecting between given alternatives in a situation. So, ang trade-off, nangyayari yan kapag kailangan nating pumili between two or more option. At kapag pinili mo naman yung isa, may isa kang isasakripisyo. Nangyayari to kasi may scarcity, whether sa oras, pera, o iba pang resources. So, bakit nga ba importante ang trade-offs? Kasi, bawat decision na ginagawa natin, may trade-offs involved. Kapag naintindihan na natin to, mas madali tayong makakapili. Halimbawa, isipin nyo na lang kung paano natin ginagamit ang oras natin. Lahat tayo may 24 hours sa isang araw. At kung paano natin to i-allocate, nakasalalay sa priorities natin. So, magbibigay ako ng dalawang example ng trade-offs. Una-una is oras natin. Halimbawa, may exam ka na coming up. Kung pipiliin mong mag-binge watch ng paborito mong show sa gabi, isasakripisyo mo yung valuable study time. Trade-offs to between leisure and academic success. Lastly naman yung sa pera, isipin mo nag-iipon ka para bumili ng bagong smartphone. Kung pipiliin mong gastusin yan sa concert ticket, trade-offs to between instant enjoyment at long-term satisfaction sa bagong phone. So, basically, ang trade-offs ay isang importanteng parte ng buhay natin na nakaka-affect sa paggamit natin ng oras at resources. Kapag na-recognize na natin at na-weigh na natin ng maayos ang options, mas makakagawa tayo ng informed decisions na magdadala sa atin sa greater satisfaction.
Good morning, this is Sharmil Zorilla, and I will be discussing opportunity costs. Choice and opportunity costs are two fundamental concepts in economics. Given that resources are limited, producers and consumers have to make choices between competing alternatives. So, ang economic decision-making, it is about making choices because resources like time, money, and materials are limited. Since hindi naman natin makukuha lahat ng gusto natin, kailangan nating pumili kung ano ba yung mas importante. So every time na gumagawa tayo ng isang desisyon, meron tayong sinasakripisyo dito. So ito yung tinatawag nating opportunity cost. All economic decisions involve making choices. Individuals must choose how best to use their skills and efforts. Firms must choose how to use their workers and machinery, and governments must choose how best to use taxpayers' money. So, for example, ginugol mo lang yung weekends mo sa pag-review kaysa sumama sa mga kaibigan mo gumala. Ang opportunity cost dito is yung memories and happiness na hindi mo naranasan kasama sila. Another example is, meron ka lang limited na budget. For example, 300 pesos. Ang kaso, kailangan mong mamili between pagbili ng pagkain mo for that day or pagbili ng ticket sa movie na gusto mong panoorin. So, of course, kapag pinili mo yung pagbili ng pagkain, ang opportunity cost mo rito ay yung movie na gusto mong panoorin kaso hindi ka makakabili ng tickets. Yung mga ganitong situations, pwede ring mangyari sa mga individuals, businesses, or even sa government. For the last example ay yung isang company. Namimili sila kung mag-i-invest ba sila sa bagong machineries na gagamitin nila sa production ng goods nila. Or dadagdagan yung sahod ng mga employees nila. Ang opportunity cost dito is yung higher employee satisfaction na pwede nilang i-sacrifice or ma-sacrifice kung pipiliin nila bumili ng bagong machineries. So making economic choices creates a sacrifice because alternatives must give up, which result in the loss of benefit that the alternative would have provided. So, In conclusion, importante na maintindihan or malaman natin ang concept ng decision making and opportunity cost kasi pwede siyang makatulong sa atin sa araw-araw. It will also help us recognize our priorities, kung mga needs ba or yung mga wants, regardless kung personal, business, or government-related choices pa to. Considering opportunity cost ensures that we make the most beneficial use of our limited resources. Yun lang po. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something that can really change the game for aspiring entrepreneurs: identifying business opportunities. You know, the word opportunity often suggests a favorable moment to act. In the business world, it's about finding those special moments when everything aligns just right, allowing you to start or grow a venture successfully. Now, how do we identify these opportunities? If you ask most aspiring entrepreneurs here in the Philippines what business they want to start, you'll often hear, "I want to pick something with a good market and a chance to make a profit." It sounds straightforward, right? But here's the tricky part. How can you know the market if you haven't even chosen a product? And how can you choose the right product without understanding the market first? Let's break it down together. Observing market trends. First up, you need to pay attention to market trends. This means observing what's happening around you. For instance, during the pandemic, many people shifted to online shopping. This surge in e-commerce created a huge demand for delivery services. Entrepreneurs who noticed these trends quickly established their logistics or courier services, catering to local sellers who needed fast delivery. This is a perfect example of how keeping an eye on the market can open doors to new opportunities. Identifying problems or gaps. Next, look for problems or gaps that need solving. A great example here in the Philippines is the rise of home-based food businesses. When restaurants were forced to close, many home cooks and bakers started selling their specialties online. From homemade pastries to packed meals, they filled the void for people who still wanted delicious food but couldn't dine out. By identifying that need, they turned a challenge into a thriving business. Assessing feasibility. Once you've spotted an opportunity, ask yourself, is this feasible? Do I have the resources and skills to make this happen? For instance, suppose you see a growing interest in organic farming. As people become more health conscious, the demand is certainly there. But can you manage the cost of organic farming and ensure a consistent supply? Assessing feasibility is crucial to make sure you can bring your idea to life. Selecting the right product or service. After confirming that it's feasible, it's time to choose the right product or service. Let's consider the recent boom in plant-based foods. With more Filipinos becoming aware of health and environmental issues, entrepreneurs are stepping up to offer plant-based alternatives. Businesses like the Good Seed and Vegan Corner have tapped into this growing market, providing products that align perfectly with consumer demand. Adapting to changing circumstances. Finally, flexibility is key. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many businesses had to pivot quickly. Grab, for instance, started as a ride-hailing app but expanded into food delivery and essential goods. They saw the need for safe delivery options when people were stuck at home. and adapted to meet the demand. This adaptability kept them afloat and opened up new revenue streams. To sum up, identifying business opportunities is a vital skill for any aspiring entrepreneur. By observing market trends, recognizing gaps that needs filling, assessing feasibility, and selecting the right products or services, you can position yourself for success. Don't forget the importance of adaptability, especially in a constantly changing world. Every challenge can lead to a new opportunity, and being aware of your surrounding is crucial.
So, good day everyone. I am John Renzo M. Manguillat again. So, now punta naman tayo sa steps for generating new business opportunities. So, I'll be discussing steps number 1 to number 4. The first step is to focus on your core product. Focusing on our core product is a very special and important thing to do. Kasi dito natin mahuhubog yung pinaka-product natin. Right? Kasi once na binigay na natin sa kanya yung focus natin, yung attention natin is makapag-gain tayo ng insight, makapag-gain tayo ng ideas on how we can improve that particular product. Right? So, dapat kailangan natin i-make sure na yung product natin is solid. Syempre, para ma-meet niya yung needs ng ating mga customers. Kasi, ang core product natin is ang magiging simbolo or magiging foundation ng business natin. Okay? So, the next step is keep your pitch simple. So, yung step na to is tumutukoy lang sa transparency ng product natin. Kung para saan nga ba to, anong mabibigay nito sa tao. So, basically, it talks about its purpose also. Right? So, dito is kailangan yung pitch natin sa product natin is clear and easy to understand. Syempre, para sa mga tao na malaman nila agad kung para saan nga ba ito and ba't natin siya in-offer and kung bakit siya nagmamatter sa market. Okay? So, next step. Stay true to who you are. Sa business kasi, authenticity is the key. So, kung paano nakilala ng tao yung product mo na yun, kung paano ka nakilala sa mismong brand mo na yun, kung paano mo binigyan ng value yung business mo na yan, dapat ganoon ka pa rin sa uli. Kasi being like that can make your audience, can make your buyer, consumer na mag-stay sa'yo hanggang dulo. Kaya, itong step na to is essential para dun sa long-term relationship natin with our buyers. So, step number 4, map it. So, dito sa step na to is dito natin mapapakita kung gaano nga ba tayo ka-strategic. Kasi dito sa step din na to, it talks about the strategy of our business. So, take some time to map out your goals and kung paano ba natin ma-identify yung target market natin. Kung sino nga ba yung ma-reach natin dito, sino ba yung kinakailangan natin ma-reach dito, and pati na rin yung potential opportunities. So, yung step na to is makakatulong sa atin para makapag-build or makaget ng clear picture kung saan nga ba tayo patungo.
Ako po si Rojmar J.D. Bucham. Ako po yung magre-report ng number 5 to 7. Number 5, utilize marketing tools that work best for you. Pag mamimili tayo na gagamitin na marketing strategy natin, kailangan natin piliin yung fit para sa atin at para sa mga customer na isi-serve natin. At saka pag mamimili din tayo ng marketing tools na gagamitin natin, kailangan natin ito evaluate from their financial and cost basis. Number 6, implement a plan of action. Ang pag-implement ng action plan ay mahalaga para makita dito kung gaano na kalaki o kahaba yung nagiging progress natin towards our established goals. Number 7, exercise the plan. Ito yung final step na kung saan kailangan natin ikumpleto na lang yung naging plano. Kumbaga, kailangan na lang natin tapusin yung naging plano. At saka, yung ibang bagay na kailangan natin gawin para ma-accelerate natin yung bilis at saka yung tagumpay natin towards sa pag-complete and pag-finish dun sa sa plano na nagawa natin. Yun lang po. Thank you po.